All right. You're on mute.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Deeksha. I work as an assistant project manager in Cvent, and I'm here to conduct your speaker training today. Now, once I finish the training, before I do that, I'd like to inform you that you'll be getting a copy of this PowerPoint presentation deck along with this recording, so you can always refer back to it. Now, if you have any questions while I go ahead and conduct this training, you can go ahead and post your question in the chat. I also don't mind if you unmute yourself and ask me those questions. Now we'll discuss the agenda for the day is that we'll go ahead and learn how do you ready your device and connect to the internet. We'll learn some best practices that you can follow, the do's and don'ts when your camera and mic is turned on, when you are going ahead and sharing your presentation, what best practices can you keep in mind. We'll learn about Zoom and live streaming experience. We'll learn about, live Q&A option through which you go ahead and get all your questions as a speaker. We'll learn some best practice tips and the day of speaker checklist. We'll learn about some available resources and the quick checklist that you can go through instead of referring to the entire PowerPoint presentation. Now, before I begin, do we have any questions on the agenda today? All right, I'll take that as a no and I'll proceed further. Now, what we mean here is when we ask you to prep your device or be ready with your device is that make sure that you have at least have a bandwidth of at least 6 Mbps up and down. That's the least. We will go ahead on the day of the event. There would be a tech support person who would be going ahead and conducting these checks for you. And you would get enough support, but make sure that you as well have the correct bandwidth to present yourself. So if I go ahead and speak on that, what I'd like to mention here is that we are all working, like most of us are working from home. So there are other people who are going ahead and using our internet. So make sure that nobody else is hogging your internet, nobody else is downloading or streaming something while you are going ahead and presenting yourself. Also, you would be getting the join session link 48 hours before your event. Apart from that, you would be getting a green room link as well. Now, what your planning team has done is they have been very kind enough to open a separate green room wherein a tech support person would be available to go ahead and conduct tech checks round the clock. They'll give you the hours of availability of that particular green room. You can join that green room any time of the day throughout the event whenever they're open and go ahead and make sure that all your audio, video is working. You're able to share your screen. If you face any inconvenience while presenting, go ahead and reach out to the green room support. It's like, just to give an example, it's like if you go for a live performance or if you might have gone ahead and prepared live events or maybe a stage show. So you see an IT guy sitting in the background, you remember, you always run to the IT guy. If you're dancing and your music is not playing or there's some hiccups in the event, you run to the IT guy, right? The green room in this virtual scenario is going to be your IT guy. Just for an example, don't assume that there is an IT guy sitting in the green room, guys. It's just an example. All right, moving forward, make sure that you go ahead and get all these URLs. I'm going to reiterate this statement a couple of times. 48 hours before your event. I'm sure you're going to go ahead and get the email. If you don't get it before your event, make sure that you reach out to your planning team. Also, again, I'm recommending this. This is not required, but we highly recommend that you download the Zoom app. You can sign up for free. We have provided link and a video on how to do that in our available resources. I'll go ahead and show it to you in the, at the end of the PowerPoint presentation deck, where you can go ahead and find that particular link. Now you can utilize those available resources and download Zoom and sign up for free. The reason why we are recommending Zoom app is because there's so many features that are not available on the web browser. When you use the Zoom through the web browser, you miss out on a lot of features. Now, do we have any questions so far? All right, then I'll go ahead and move forward. Now, when you are in a live stream session and you have your video on, so what happens is your video in the Zoom room is being broadcasted in the virtual attendee hub. Now, how live stream works, we'll talk about it later, but we'll just keep in mind what best practices we can follow when we have our computer camera turned on or our mic turned on. Now, when you have your video turned on, I'll make it very easy for you. make sure that both the edges of your shoulder is visible in the frame that you go ahead and see your face in. Make sure that both the edges of the shoulder is visible. The source of light should always be behind the camera. Now, sometimes we suggest our speakers and attendees to use natural lighting. What they go ahead and do is sit really close to the window. That washes out the entire presentation. Now, make sure, even if you're sitting close to the window should be behind your computer camera and not behind you. So both the edges of the shoulder to be visible, first point. Second, make sure that the source of light is behind your camera and not behind you. Third, make sure that you center yourself in such a way that you keep on your camera of your device is at your eye level so that the attendees feel that you're interacting with them directly. Do we have any questions so far? Okay, all right, I'll take that as a no. Now, when you feel, when you are going ahead and turning your audio on and when you are about to present. Now, if you are a speaker and there's another speaker with you in the session, we would request you to mute yourself if you're not presenting at the moment. But if you are going ahead and presenting at the moment and you go ahead and unmute yourself, we highly recommend that you use USB mics or headset mics. For a chance, you can go ahead and use laptop mics. We do not recommend earbud mics because what happens is when you use earbud mics, we have noticed this a lot of time that the voice breaks in between and the connection drops. And there's a lot of disturbance as well. Now we are used to the work from home environment, and we are used to a couple of sounds that come, while we're at home. But, the attendees who are going ahead and joining your session for the first time and they're listening to you first time might find these sounds a little disturbing. So, for example, you can watch out for additional, disturbing sounds like AC vent, refrigerator, your pet, your children. Even I have a pet, as much as I love him, I always make sure that he's logged in, in a room very far away from the room where I am present, and I'm presenting. Now make sure that all these video and the audio checks would be conducted on the day of your event as well by the tech support. That is why, again, a very important point that you join your respective session with the join session URL. You can join your session 30 minutes before your session start time to conduct all these checks. So guys, we have a green room for you wherein there would be a couple of hours that they would be available on. The green room would be open. Irrespective of your session time, you can join that green room in their respective hour and take AV and tech check support. Apart from the green room, we also have, there would be a host present, there would be a tech support person present in your session as well. If you go ahead and join your session before your session start time, at least 30 minutes, then you would be able to go ahead and mitigate any, risk, and you can go ahead and make sure that everything is okay and you can meet any last minute changes. And I do not see any questions on the chat. I did not see people raising their hands. So I'll take it as a note that you guys are understanding everything and I'll move forward. Is that okay? All right, then. Now we would request you to, so what we have to do is, we know that you have your share of content, you know what you're presenting and you are the best at this. But what we request you to do is, if you are going ahead and sharing any content, for example, if you're sharing a PowerPoint presentation deck, we would request you that you go ahead and download that and save it locally to your device. So as much content as you share, make sure that you can go ahead and download everything and locally save it to your device. But if you want to showcase a web-based application or something like that, we understand that and we recommend you to do that. It's not required, but make sure that you download your content. The reason why I'm reiterating and emphasizing on this is because what happens is, if you go ahead and stream from an online source, you would encounter unavoidable buffers and ads. This might deteriorate our attendees' experience because you'd be in a live stream session. So it would really, diminish their experience as an attendee in the live stream session. So make sure all your content is downloaded and saved to your computer locally. Also, if you are planning to share videos, make sure that they are downloaded and not streamed from an online source. Now, when you are on a Zoom call, like right now, if you're sharing your screen, so once you start sharing your screen, the options that you see, in your meeting controls that you see below, you would see an option of more. You might not be able to see it right now, but once you start sharing your screen, you'll see an option of more. When you click on more, you'll get an option to share sound and optimize for video clip. What happens is when you're sharing a video, only when you turn on the share sound option, the attendees are able to hear if there's a voice clip or, if there's an audio attached to your video. If you go ahead and click on the optimize for video clip option, what it does is it optimizes your video clip. This means that the attendees would not be able to go ahead and see anything else, any other device or application on your device. If they are watching your video clip, they'll only be seeing your video clip. Now that reminds me of another things. Make sure that whenever you're presenting, or your cell phone is on silent so that you do not get distracted by it. Your attention is also very important. Apart from that, make sure that you close any non-conference related programs because that consumes a lot of bandwidth. For example, if you guys use cell phones regularly and there's so many apps like Instagram, Snapchat, even if you don't use them, they consume your data every day because they're running in the background and updating details. So make sure that you go ahead and close any non-related conference program if your internet bandwidth is not enough. Also, make sure that you go ahead and silence notification of Slacks, Outlook, any non-conference related programs so that, a pop-up notification does not pop up, when you are going ahead and sharing your screen, or even you don't get distracted, with those notifications. Do we have any questions around this? Perfect. I'll go ahead and proceed further. Now we'll discuss what a live stream experience is and Zoom. Now there are two, places where this is happening. So in a live stream session, it's a one-way stream. So what happens is you as a speaker, you would be present in the Zoom room along with the tech support person, the host, and you would be going ahead and sharing everything. You'd be sharing your screen. You'd be going ahead and presenting and giving out your entire content in the Zoom room. Now, whatever you present in the Zoom room is being broadcasted to the virtual attendee hub, where all your attendees are present, are going ahead and viewing you live through an embedded video player. So make sure that you join the Zoom room 30 minutes before the session start time. Again, emphasizing on this so that you can mitigate any risk, any last minute changes, you can cater to it. Also, you can go ahead and use the chat icon. So since you are the speaker of a live stream session, the only way for the attendees to interact with you is by posting question on the virtual attendee hub. Now, you as a speaker are not present in the virtual attendee hub. So how are they going ahead and, how would you answer their questions? Now here it is what happens. Now here they go ahead, if you can see in the snapshot, you don't have to worry about it. Do not get overwhelmed by seeing your screen. Now on the Attendee Hub website, they see ask a question option. They ask a question. Now there would be a moderator or a person who is going to copy these questions and paste it in the chat window. So for example, you would go ahead make sure that you keep your chat window open all the time. For example, if I go ahead and post a question, you all can see how are you question. Now, similarly, if you keep your chat window open while presenting, any question the moderator submits would be from the Attendee Hub. They would be going ahead and submitting you the question. You just have to keep an eye on the chat window and answer your questions. Now, also, when you answer your question, make sure that you time your session in such a way that you're able to complete the session content and answer questions if there is any within the session start time and end time. And we'd highly, highly appreciate if you do not exceed your session start time and or your session end time. We want you to go ahead and strictly maintain the session duration. Apart from that, we have discussed how do you go ahead and keep your chat window. Now, there's something very important. When you are being streamed from a live stream session, what happens is you see, let me go ahead and go a couple of slides ahead. Now, what happens is you see my screen right now. This is a collaborative session, like everyone, all the attendees, the host, the speaker, everyone is in the same Zoom, correct? But when you are in the Zoom room, there would be a speaker view that would be presented. So in your attendee hub, your attendees can see your entire content in the entire screen. And then on the right-hand corner top, there would be a small box wherein your video would be present. So make sure whenever you're going ahead and making any PowerPoint presentation deck, anything, do not keep anything important on the right-hand corner top, because there would be a small box or a small window wherein attendees can see you as a speaker. And if you put anything on the top right-hand corner of your slide, they would not be able to see it in the attendee hub. Again, I'll reiterate, do not keep any important content. If you're sharing any PowerPoint presentation slide or deck, do not keep any content on the top right-hand corner of your slide. So when I say top right-hand corner, what I mean is you see my Zoom and live stream experience. You see all the content in the left-hand corner. On the top right, if you can see, there's a laptop snapshot and there's a wire snapshot. So somewhere on the top, it would be my little window panel where the attendees can see me. So that's the place where you don't keep anything important. Do we have any questions on that? Perfect. Now, for example, if you're not sharing any content or you're in a gallery view, we can go ahead and showcase up to 9 speakers on screen at once. This is a number that you don't have to memorize, but this is something that we are going to go ahead and take care of you, take care for you. It's just something that you can go ahead and keep in mind. Now, moving ahead, we've understood how live Q&A works. Now we would understand, so what we have done is instead of you going ahead and going through the entire PowerPoint presentation deck, we have clubbed together some best practice tips. This is everything that we have discussed so far. You can go ahead and refer to this best practice tip. Like we discussed that the internet speed should be at least 6 Mbps up and down, close all non-essential applications in browser tab. So it's just a reiteration of everything that we have discussed. Also, an important thing, it reminds me of speaking that in case your computer camera or your laptop device or camera is not working, you can use an external webcam. If you are in a low lighting room, you can use a ring light as well. But make sure that the ring light is again behind your camera, because we, as discussed, the source of light should be behind your camera and not behind you. Do we have any questions? Okay, great. I'll take that as a no and I'll move forward. Now, what we have done for you is we have gone ahead and prepped a day of speaker checklist. Now you are, all set for the day. Now you just have to quickly go ahead and see, I refer to to-do list and checklist every day when I join office. I start my day, I make a to-do list, and then at the end of the day, I make sure that I go ahead and go through them and see if I have not missed out on anything. Similarly, keeping that in mind, that really helps me. So keeping that in mind, we have gone ahead and created a day of speaker checklist. You can go ahead and go through each point and see, if you have limited your background noise, tested your internet connection. Now, when you go ahead and see dress professionally, it does not mean that you have to wear something specifically. What you need to do is, if you guys have decided on a dress code, sure, you can go ahead and, wear the dress code. For example, in an event I saw, the speaker decided to go bold and wear red, and they were pretty happy about it. So everyone in the room wore red. So you can do that. If you're not planning to do that, that's absolutely okay. It's not required. You can dress accordingly. Just avoid busy prints because it distracts the attendees. Now, plug your computer into power source. I'll emphasize on this statement as well because it's very basic, I understand, but there's so many times that we have seen that the device battery is low and the system is about to turn off, and there have been instances where this has caused the trouble. So even if your internet is working, your audio is perfect, you're able to share your screen, and your content is all ready, do not forget to plug your computer into a power source, and make sure that if you are not plugged into a power source, make sure that you have enough battery device to last you throughout your presentation. Also, if you are in case going ahead and facing any internet connection problem, what you can do is you can make sure what you can do is connect your device directly to an Ethernet cable. But if you are not able to do that, or you've heard it for the first time, do not get overwhelmed. If in case by any chance your internet is not working while you're presenting yourself, moving closer to the router also works. If you're working on a VPN, we would recommend that you disconnect your VPN because that consumes a lot of bandwidth. So this is something that we have gone ahead and sorted out for you guys. Also, what we have done for you guys is we have clubbed together some available resources, like I was discussing earlier when I was going ahead and going through your agenda. We have your test or your audio link, test your video link. You can utilize these links. These links are clickable, as you can see. So you can go ahead and utilize these links to test your audio video again. You can make a 30-second test video and conduct your test and everything before your event. You can do that. It's not recommended, again, not required. You can use this link to create a free Zoom account. You can download Zoom client for meetings, and you can utilize all these available resources along with a copy of this PowerPoint presentation deck and recording. Now, I understand, I see no questions in the chat. I see no hands raised. I understand you may not have questions right now, but if you do have questions later, make sure that you go ahead and shoot out mails to your planning team. Ask as many questions as you want. Please do not be hesitant. Your planning team is pretty responsive. I'm sure you would go ahead and receive all the answers to your questions. So make sure that you ask as many questions as you want. Now, do we have any questions today? Okay, I'll take that as a no. And this is everything that I had for you guys. And thank you all for joining in and taking your time out for this.
Thank you, Diksha. So